with Doberne on the play, he's going to get a couple more turns to interact. You know, he doesn't have to worry really about getting. You know, the turn 2 draws are less scary, I suppose.
Yeah.
But let's look at the. I think the biggest weapon, just like last round, is Gaddock Teague in the matchup.
Yeah. So David has the same Green Sun Zenith package. He can go for Gaddock Teague. He has the potential to accelerate. He actually has 5 accelerators as opposed to 4 that we saw last time. He also has 4 Thought Seizes, which is probably a more reliable disruption spell than the Force of Wills and the Spell Pierces were in the starting deck for Bryan Hawley last round.
Right, so I think the fact that why is it's Dark Maverick instead of regular Maverick is somewhat of a nod to these matchups, and a nod to the fact that Maverick typically has had trouble with control decks.
Yeah.
Doberne has kept his 7.
It appears that they both have kept their 7, and we're going to have a turn 1 Bird's Paradise for Doberne.
So when you look at Doberne's hand, he does have 1 dead card in terms of Swords to Plowshares. He opted to play turn 1 Birds over turn 1 Mother of Runes, which is pretty a heads-up play in the matchup.
Yeah. And Bryan has Force, Pact, Ancient Tomb, Fetch Land, I think Second Pact, and there's a blue spell hiding in the back, and it might be a Hive Mind.
Might be a Hive Mind. So David, looks in his opening hand, I'm not sure what disruption he's actually kept. We're going to see a turn 2 Mother of Runes.
Yeah, and there's a Horizon Canopy that he could be cracking, and he's got
the Green Sun Zenith.
Got the Green Sun Zenith, which he can use for to go get Gaddock Teague. He doesn't do it on turn 2, maybe figuring that if he loses right now, it's because his opponent casts Show and Tell, and Gaddock Teague isn't going to stop that.
Right.
And so he may have been trying to play around a Spell Pierce there.
And remember, both players have access to each other's deck lists. So in the main deck, the things he kind of gets to know what he has to play around in the main deck. I don't believe there are any Spell Pierces in the main deck.
No, that's true. It's just 4 Force of Wills that David needs to be concerned about disrupting his plan. Unfortunately, Bryan Eleyet does have those 4 Force of Wills. He has 2 of those 4 Force of Wills in his hand.
So because of that, what Doberne's going to have to do is present a clock, and kind of hope that Eleyet stumbles here.
Yeah. So actually, it's probably not Spell Pierce. Well, no, that's not it either. I was thinking maybe he's waiting to have the Mother of Runes active, but Eleyet doesn't have any point removal.
So Doberne fetches for Dryad Arbor. That's the From the Vault Realms Dryad Arbor, which has the green mana symbol but is still a creature. So sometimes it looks like a forest.
It's somewhat controversial.
Yeah,
there have been a couple of articles about that, right?
Yeah, I think I agree with the controversy on it. You look at it and like, why is he putting his forest up with the creature? Oh, right. Okay, that's why he's doing it.
And I think the problem with this card is that it's when you treat it fairly, it's fine, but it's very easy to not be super conscientious about it and accidentally put it with your lands and then get lost.
So Doberne's going to cast Green Sun Zenith for 3. That would be signaling that he's going to get Knight of the Reliquary. I mean, you can also Zenith for 3. I believe it's X or less.
Yeah,
so you can also over Zenith, as kind of as a ruse.
Yeah, and so he may have been relying on Bryan thinking that it was for Knight of the Reliquary and trying to fake it out for a Gaddock Teague, but Bryan just forced
Bryan does no such thing. And when you look at Bryan's hand is pretty, was prepared for all different sorts of cases. He has 2 Pact of the Titans. He has the Hive Mind. He has the Show and Tell as well. So he kind of, he was ready to win through a Gaddock Teague, and without the Teague there, he's in a pretty good spot now.
And one wonders whether David was actually trying to get the Knight of the Reliquary, and whether he realizes that the Gaddock Teague plan is a valid way, at least in game 1, for him to address the matchup.
So Eleyet ponders into Jataxian Probe, Emrakul, City of Traders.
I'd imagine that he's going to keep the Jataxian Probe, play it, make sure that there's nothing lurking
the coast is clear, and then go for it.
Yeah, drawing.
Right, he's going to shuffle here, actually.
Yeah. So are we sure that he actually has the Show and Tell? I find it hard to believe that he would take this line without.
They probably even missing one of the cards in his hand. He does have the Show and Tell. Okay. All right, Doberne quickly picks a card, and he picks Batterskull. And that's not going to be enough, as Eleyet does have 2 Pact of the Titans.
You get a giant, I get a giant. Oh,
you get another giant. Paradise. Yeah. Interestingly, the second Pact of the Titan was relevant there, as if Doberne had a land, the first Pact of the Titan would not have been enough.
Yes, that is correct, because he would have had 5 mana and the Bird's Paradise would have been enough.
But Bryan, with a pretty sweet draw here, able to have the second Pact and quickly takes game 1 in 4 minutes.
Yep, it's pretty easy playing a combo deck if, just start with it all and have
Start
the protection.
Right, and I think that's, where Maverick has trouble. One of its best weapons to fight there is Gaddock Teague, but as you see, there's, Gaddock Teague's not actually a hard answer. Eleyet can show and tell to get past the Gaddock Teague. David Doberne can pay for a Pact, but, Eleyet can find a second Pact. So all of Doberne's answers are a little soft.
Yep. So we're going to come back to the booth right now, and we're going to give away a year's
worth of Starscape Premium, so a pretty big prize. We're going to do our final trivia question.
Yeah. So we've been a little bit on top of this, and I failed you on the last question. I don't have a question here, so I'm going to put you on the spot and say, can you think of something
to come up with our final trivia question?
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking a lot about Grand Prix Miami.
Grand Prix Miami?
Yeah.
Where can I find out more?
Where can you find out more about Grand Prix Miami? There's a website. I believe at magicgp.com would be where you can find out about Grand Prix Miami. So one of the questions, which I guess we're going to ask, which we're going to ask for that. We're going to kind of throw in easier ones. So for those of you wondering, we're going to ask what format Grand Prix Miami will be for. So if you're planning to go, what kind of deck do you need to show up with?
Yeah, and this is actually a pretty relevant question. We have Dragon's Maze coming out in just 2 more weeks. So whatever that will impact a format.
Mm-hmm.
We also had banned and restricted list changes that were announced today, including a change to the modern ban list.
Yeah, a change to modern and vintage.
And
the vintage
vintage
one, for those of you who play vintage out there, probably will not care about it.
And there's going to be some guy that's going to be like, oh, my black bordered regrowths.
My regrowths, I can go from playing 0 to 4 of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tweet at us with hashtag SCG Premium what format GP Miami is. And if for some reason you don't know what that is, hey, you can find it out at magicgp.com.
It figures to be a pretty fun Grand Prix, so, figure out, what format will it be?
Yeah. So we did get these ban and restricted list changes, and the one big one is that Modern has changed.
Modern has changed. Unexpectedly, there was some problem. Second Sunrise, the whole Eggs deck did take a hit, and I don't think that was completely unexpected. After Eggs winning the Pro Tour and recently winning a Grand Prix, there was a lot of people I think were pretty disappointed in that result. Eggs is a interesting deck as an occasional winner, but if it becomes a mainstay of the format, it can be a pretty not fun deck to play against in the sense that I think, and the reason they gave me the article was the sense that it doesn't function well with a 5 extra turns policy very well. Sometimes 5 extra. I've played Second Sunrise once at a PTQ, and kind of as an intellectual exercise, on the turn I won, I had a watch with me, and I just would start a timer, and then I would stop it when I won the game. And on average, it was 19 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah, and because you'd think that opponents would scoop, but they don't, and they don't have to, obviously. And I don't. I rehearsed it a couple times, so I didn't do it slowly. So at a very reasonable tempo, generally my game-winning turn was 19 minutes. I think they found that to be a problem because lots of times, time in the round would be called, and you wouldn't get to finish your round for another half hour if there was an Eggs player in the tournament.
Yeah. No, it's very frustrating, especially at a GP, but even at a PTQ, to have your rounds go for an hour and 15 minutes instead of an hour and 20 minutes.
Right. I mean, so when you're going 30 minutes over time each round, it becomes very hard for tournament organizers to reserve spaces. And really, it becomes pretty inconvenient for players, so I think the banning was made for that reason.
Yeah. So the specific banning that happened was they banned Second Sunrise, not Lotus Bloom or Reshape, as some people have hypothesized. And the reasoning for that was they said that they wanted a targeted ban that was only going to affect Eggs. So there's potential for other fast mana combo decks.
Second Sunrise occasionally had seen playing Boros decks. As a combo finish, on a turn where you would sacrifice a bunch of flagstones. I think the candidates were, Lotus Bloom, Reshape, or Second Sunrise. Those 3 spells really the deck can't function without. Of those, it's had to go with Second Sunrise, which seems just fine. There is still Faith's Reward in the format, but without that redundancy, the eggs deck is probably not playable.
Yeah. So, well, a little bit of interesting change going on. I believe they have also posted most, if not all, of the spoiler for Dragon's Maze on the Wizards website tonight. So, if you're interested in seeing...
if you're still awake and interested in more Magic, check it out. There should be a fair number of new cards up on the site.
Yeah, and you can start brewing your new standard decks for the next StarCityGames.com Open.
All right, so going to our back into our finals, we have Bryan Eleyet up 1-0, both players sideboarding here. Not too many options for either player out of the sideboard. This is game one's a pretty good game for Bryan Eleyet. He's not going to try to change the game plan too much. What David Doberne can do here is he does have one Cabal Therapy and not too much else in his deck, in his sideboard.
So potentially, if you're Eleyet, you bring in the Ley Lines of Sanctity, as we saw him do against John before. But that's about the only thing you consider.
So turn one Mother of Runes from David Doberne. This is good because he may want to try to protect a Hate Bear with it. On the other hand, Bryan Eleyet starts out by producing 5 mana on turn 1. The Ancient Tomb into Grim Monolith play. This can be really scary as it allows a turn 2 Hive Mind.
Yeah, and so he has a Show and Tell, he has a Force of Will. I think he might have an Intuition, although it could be a Brainstorm. I think it's a Brainstorm.
So when I said Mother of Runes protecting the Gaddock, you might be wondering, protected from what? Hive Mind doesn't really play any removal. The answer B.
Go.
Okay, no, Bryan, you're like, okay, yeah, why are you saying that? Bryan Eleyet has 3 Fire Spouts in his sideboard, so it gives him like a one-shot chance to let his potential Gaddock survive a Fire Spout.
Absolutely, and if you have the Mother of Runes, you might as well play it on turn 1. You're not going to be, if you don't have another play.
Mm-hmm. On turn 2, so we have Doberne with the 2-drop.
And it looks Qasali Pride Mage. So he may be deciding that he needs to go the land destruction route here.
I mean, he almost certainly needs to hit the Grim Monolith. The unfortunate thing is that this happened a turn too late. Bryan Eleyet unfortunately made 5 mana on turn 1. If he does have, the Island and Hive Mind and a Pact, this could be a very quick finals.
Indeed. So a fetch land drawn.
He's drawn Polluted Delta, so Eleyet does have the ability to play Hive Mind. I don't believe he has a Hive Mind yet.
Yeah, there is a blue card hiding in the back.
I believe that's
the Show and Tell. So we've got Show and Tell, Force of Will, Brainstorm, Island, Fetch Land, and another Ancient Tomb.
So the good news with Show and Tell is that what it means is that Gaddock no longer seriously hurts Bryan's strategy.
Yeah. And so Bryan's definitely going to be casting the Brainstorm. The question is whether he's going to cast it this turn or if he's going to wait till next turn so that he can immediately shuffle away cards that aren't useful to him.
My guess is that he would probably wait to try to do the draw 3 with it. Essentially, all Bryan needs to find is he needs to find a Hive Mind and a Pact. So he wants to do is maximize the number of new cards he gets to see to make that happen.
And there's also some value in him holding on to the Brainstorm in case his opponent rips one of his Forethought Seizes. So that he could hide the cards that are necessary for him to win.
Yeah, there currently isn't too much pressure on Bryan Eleyet to go for a combo win, to go for the win. He is at 13, so Doberne has a clock of 3. Right now it would appear to be 5 turns, but what'll likely end up being 3 turns, especially after this Stoneforge Mystic.
So David plays Stoneforge Mystic and gets sort of Feast and Famine with it. If he has a land next turn, he's going to be able to play that and equip it. And that's going to put some pressure on Bryan to find his combo as quickly as possible.
And Bryan draws Hive Mind for the turn.
And you can see that he's visibly pleased with that.
Yep, he's just 1 Pact away from being able to win this game.
Yeah, if he brainstorms into the Green Pact or the Red Pact here, he should be able to win this turn. Intuition, Island, Flooded Strand.
So Intuition's going to be pretty strong as it'll let him win 1 more turn down the road.
Yeah. He's a little bit constrained on blue mana here, but he's going to go ahead and put back 2 cards. He's going to play an Island. He's going to pass the turn. At the end of David's turn, he's going to go ahead and search up 3 Pact of the Titans with Intuition.
So he does. The interesting part is he has Force of Will. He has a Force of Will pitching a blue spell, and the funny part is the card he's probably most worried about out of David Doberne is Birds of Paradise. It's probably one of the only cards that gives David an out to the Pact of the Titan.
Absolutely. And, you know, if we would expect David to play a Bird's Paradise if he has it. So he may say, oh, if he plays the Birds of Paradise on this turn, then, you know, I can find another thing, but if he doesn't, I can go for it.
Right. So, David, with kind of one turn for that draw, he's going to draw another fetch land for the turn. So he has he does still have a Horizon Canopy, so we'll get another draw. David's going to go ahead and do that. He cracks the fetch land ahead of time to minimize the odds that he draws another land here.
Yep, and so he's going to go ahead and use the Stoneforge Mystic to vial in the Sword of Feast and Famine, then use the last 2 mana to equip it to his Chrysalid Pride Mage, attack with it, and then when the Sword of Feast and Famine will untap all of his lands, force Bryan to discard a card, and give David, you know, a chance to draw an additional card, which I think he should do immediately, hoping to hit a Thoughtseize.
And David's got to be pretty aware that this may be his last turn. You know, especially when you see a combo player, a hive-mind player, keep a 7 and proceed to, you know, play some lands, play some mana, brainstorm, and, you know, it's a sign that they're probably very close to the combo, if they don't already have it.
Yeah.
All right,
so we see him cracking the Horizon Canopy, drawing a card, and Thoughtseize.
He draws into Thoughtseize. Yeah, Bryan Eleyet discarded Island off that.
Yeah, so Bryan's going to be able to force a will with the Show and Tell here.
Because David does not have a Gaddock Teeg in play, he still should be able to make the win next turn here. David can use the last mana to blow up Grim Monolith, which will actually take away... Unless that is a City of Traders.
He's got City of Traders in hand. Okay. Yeah, he's got it all planned out.
City of Traders, Intuition, which is essentially a Pact of the Titan. If played correctly, David should not have enough. Shouldn't be able to do anything here.
Yeah. So we get the island. Bryan's gonna untap. He's gonna draw. He's at a pretty low life total, but luckily it's not so low that he can't tap City of Traders 2 more times.
Right. Interestingly, had David Doberne been swinging his Mother of Runes both turns, he would have Eleyet at 2 lower life, which may prevent him from making this line.
That's actually absolutely true, and well, no. So if he had been doing that though, the Chrysalid Pride Mage would not have been exalted.
Okay,
so he missed 1 damage. Did he attack on turn 2 with the Mother of Runes?
I'm not sure. Okay, and Eleyet, go ahead and slams down 6 mana. Here's the combo.
Okay, so this game is over.
All right. Yeah. So there's a handshake. Bryan Eleyet finishes his undefeated run through the Swiss top 8 and is your Star City Seattle Legacy champion.
Congratulations, Bryan Eleyet. Congratulations, David Doberne. Second place is no mean feat, and he should be pretty happy. And I'm excited to see his take on Dark Maverick here.
Yeah, certainly a resurgence somewhat of Maverick. We haven't seen it in the top 8 for a while. It posts a finals finish with a little more of a combo plan involved in it.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things I like about the Maverick deck is that he was able to take down Joe Lassette's Miracles deck in the top 8, which is really one of the reasons we'd stopped seeing Maverick.
Yeah. So, and that third game